So, Matt, we're going to mention some honorable mentions. We're going to race through our 10 to 6 spots on our top films, and then we're going to talk about probably each one of our top 5 films for at least a moment.
Yeah, I gotta say this is not easy.
No, making top 10s is really fun, I think, for that reason, because it forces you to quantify films, which is bad and it's good.
When I go into my honorable mentions, I need to make it known that these are really great films.
All of my honorable mentions are amazing films.
Yeah, they're literally B+, A- territory, and I just couldn't find the place to put them in here, and I really wanted to, and that's why they're honorable mentions.
Yeah.
So, do you want to go first with yours?
Sure. So, kind of a long list of honorable mentions. A White, White Day, Another Round, Minari,
Oh.
Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, The Dark and the Wicked, Dick Johnson is Dead, Sound of Metal, and Kajillionaire.
Oh, no, dang. Minari makes me sad.
I really, really like Minari. I think there's so much about it that is so beautiful. I think that it's a little lacking in sharpness or a little lacking in detail that would have made it sit with me better.
All right, for my honorable mentions, I have One Night in Miami. I have Yes, God, Yes.
Oh, great movie.
I have Kajillionaire.
Oh, nice.
I have Lovers Rock. Yeah, it's kind of cute that we both had Kajillionaire on there. First Cow and Promising Young Woman.
Oh.
I thought Promising One.
I'm very upset that Promising Young Woman is not on your top 10.
I thought you were going to be upset by that. Yeah, that was tough. That was the one that was kind of teetering on it and off, and I felt really bad.
Why did it not make your top 10?
That's a very good question. I mean, it's really I'm literally comparing just these minute details. I have a lot of things on my top 10 list that are very kind of impactful, meaningful films, and I wanted something on there that I just really enjoyed that necessarily has some impact. You'll see. We'll get to it.
The 2 films that I had the most trouble not putting on my list are Minari and Kajillionaire, actually. Kajillionaire really sat with me. The longer that I thought about it, I said, this film is actually really original. It's really interesting. It's smart. It's emotional. It's not your typical indie fare.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. That one was the other one that I had a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And it was teetering in place with another film, and I might come to regret this one decision that I made, but it's top 10. They're all films that we love and enjoy. So
that's why I love top 10s.
Yeah, who cares? But we care. So here we are.
All right, since I did honorable mentions first, you want to do 10 through 6 first?
Sure. My number 10 is Palm Springs. My number 9 is Sound of Metal. My number 8 is Soul. My number 7 is The Vast of Night. And my number 6 is I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
Okay. Not a lot of surprises there, except for Palm Springs.
Yeah.
Why did that jump up on you?
I think it had a mix of everything. So it was hysterical. It was a hysterical movie. It had some kind of impactful meaning about living your life to the fullest. And I just think that it really executed that kind of subject matter in a really good way. And I thought that just really kind of sat with me. I noticed that that's one of the films that just over the course of the year is just one of those things that kind of sat with me, and also something that I just keep remembering and going back to.
So this is my 10 through 6. Number 10 is Borat, subsequent movie film. Number 9 is Vast of Night. Number 8 is The Nest. Number 7 is Promising Young Woman. And number 6 is Soul.
Okay.
Any surprises?
I would say Borat. Well, I know you really loved Borat, but I'm kind of surprised it ended up on the top 10.
I had it in the honorable mentions, and I was just thinking of the way I think about...
Wait, I'm sorry. You have Minari in your honorable mentions.
I know.
And you have Borat as number 10.
Do you remember that I said to you... that my number 10 spot and my number 11 spot is almost offensive to one another?
Yes. I'm offended.
I actually think Borat 2 is extraordinary in its satire. It epitomized all of these things that I don't like about America in a film, and it made me laugh about them, and it made me think about them. The other thing, too, is I really revere the first Borat film. That's one of the funniest films I think I've ever seen. And for them to come back suddenly 14 years later in secret and have a sequel that I think is just as funny as the first film, I think is really commendable. And to adapt all of the things that about 2006 into 2020 and make it still relevant, I don't know. I'm very impressed by that movie. I think similar to the way that you talk about Palm Springs is kind of the way that Borat has stuck with me.
Since we both had The Vast of Night on our, top 10, and we've gone through that already, I mean, this is just a fantastic movie. I love how this film, just like with so little, did so much. I mean, it really created this little world that we were kind of dropped into for an hour and a half.
Yeah, I love that film for that reason. And I think that it's a film that's built around... Actually, I have some friends that have some older cars. I can use those. I have some friends that have some old video equipment and old radio equipment. I can use that. And it's really about using whatever you have to make a compelling story. And this is one of the best examples I've seen of that in ages.
I think that's actually a great example of this year in cinema, is that I feel like a lot more was done with less. I think due to the pandemic and people having to finish films, or just like the bigger budget movies are being pushed forward. So like what you're left with is just kind of the more indie stuff. Yeah. And I think just so much of that has been so much more emotionally connecting and engaging.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these films got more play this year, or they were more in the spotlight because of these larger films were not taking up every box office weekend.
All right, so on to our top 5. My fifth favorite movie of the year is Minari. This is just a fantastic movie. I love the relationships in this movie. I love the authenticity in this movie. We actually have a review on this movie, so I'm not really going to go too much into it, but you can check it out on our channel. And do you want to go with your number 5 now?
Sure, and I suspect we might talk about this a little later, but my number 5 is Mangrove, which I think is extraordinary. It's Steve McQueen's best movie of the year. He made 5 movies this year. It's a film that's typical in the sense that you've seen courtroom dramas before, but you don't see them made with such precision and such skill. It's so good, especially comparing it to Trial of Chicago 7, which I keep saying is perfectly fine. Is a nice movie to watch.
That didn't make neither of our honorable mentions nor our top 5 or top 10.
It is not Mangrove, which is my number 5.
All right, so my number 4 is Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Oh.
Did you not? Yeah, I thought that might be a little surprise to you.
Yeah, I guess I counted that in 2019 movies.
I actually double-checked, and its wide release was in January 2020.
Interesting.
So we didn't even see it until the beginning of the year. It does seem like a long time ago.
Yeah.
But
it's a great movie. I actually like that. I think maybe a little less than everybody else does, but I also have nothing bad to say about it. So.
Yeah. This movie to me, everything about it was visually just stunning and beautifully shot. I just love the characters in this movie and their relationship, and that end. Oh my God, the ending of this movie is just fantastic.
So my number 4 is Possessor, which is directed by Brandon Cronenberg, son of David Cronenberg. It's kind of a sci-fi horror hybrid. There's a lot of fun. There's a lot of like pulpy, interesting violence and some science fiction kind of in your body type stuff in this film that I think is really interesting. But there's also some more deeper kind of existential questions. And I don't know. I love this film. You actually were, if you remember, pacing around the house while this film was on, and there's a scene with a fire poker where somebody is shoving a fire poker down someone else's throat. It's an extraordinarily violent film. But
probably why I didn't see it.
But I do think it's one of the most impactful films I saw this year, and I can't wait for whatever Brandon Cronenberg is going to do next.
All right, so my number 3 movie of the year is Collective. It's a Romanian documentary, and I think it's an inspirational film. It's a very sad film. It's something that's stuck with me ever since we've seen it.
My number 3 is I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which is probably not a surprise. I've talked about this on the channel like 18 times. I'm not going to talk about it any further. I love Charlie Kaufman. I think that as cynical and sullen as his films keep getting, they also maintain their quality. I think I'm Thinking of Ending Things is just as good as anything he's ever done, and it's a great movie.
All right, so I have a quick question to ask you while we're in the middle of this.
Okay.
Because I just brought up Collective. It wasn't in your honorable mentions. It didn't show up on your list so far. So now I'm wondering if it is a documentary that's on your list or if it's not. So you don't have to answer that, of course, yes. But it's just my wheels are starting to turn with the movies that are left that I know that you love. And I'm just very interested.
My number 2 is Collective.
Oh, well, why don't you just go on?
I was very, honestly, for most of the year, this movie was number 1. Like, I don't think, even with my number 1, like, it's hard for me to say that anything is better than this movie as far as a film that can have an impact, a film that in an hour and 45 minutes shows you so much about how government works and about how healthcare works and the corruption within everything without ever actually saying to you what's wrong. I think Collective is so extraordinary. I think it's only gotten better from when we saw it.
I'm so glad it's on your list. I was a little worried there for a moment.
No, yeah, and really, like, I really wanted to put it at number one. I really did, until I saw a film that I had a little more of an emotional impact with, but I think Collective is just unreal how good it is.
All right, so my number 2 movie of the year is Nomadland. So this was just a fantastic movie. We actually did a review on this movie as well, so feel free to check that out. But kind of in a basic sense, you know, this movie just had such an emotional impact on me. I love how all the secondary characters are actually nomads, so I feel like it really brings this aspect to the film where it kind of feels like a documentary even though it's a movie, just because there's so many real people in here and you totally get a sense of how real they are.
Yeah, you kind of get Nomadland is my number 1 film of 2020, I should say that. You kind of get this sense of Chloe Zhao and the whole crew. They went out and they just shot a bunch of stuff. They shot a bunch of authentic human moments, and they kind of like strung it together into a like quote unquote fictional film. You're right about the actors being nomads. The nomads in many cases are talking about actual things that happen to them. You know, that they actually have cancer, that their sons actually committed suicide. So there's just an emotional core to this movie and a directness that I really identify with. I think some people have kind of come after, not many people, but some friends of mine have come after the writing in this movie about how direct it is and how simple it is. And if you had a conversation in real life, I think it would probably sound something like this. I don't think it would be tied up in a whole lot of diction or how something sounds in a sentence.
Yeah, like we're in a Shakespeare's play or something. It's not going to be like that in real life.
Yeah, and you alluded to it, but as far as like a raw emotional reaction to a movie, I didn't have anything like Nomadland this whole year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think Nomadland is extraordinary. I think that outside of my emotional reaction to it, I think objectively it's extraordinary too. So, I don't know. I can't even find more great things to say about it. I think it's so great.
All right, so I mean, that only leaves one film left, and my number 1 is Mangrove. Yeah, I think you must have figured that out by the list. This is just a fantastic film. I think Steve McQueen just killed it when it came to the Small Axe series. I'm highly devastated that this can't be considered for the Oscars. But
I'm highly not devastated that he made 5 films this year.
Yes, I'm not devastated for that. I mean, these movies were just gifts, and the amount of care that he was able to put into every single one of these films and have a result where each of these films are really fantastic. I can't imagine how he did it, and just so many props to him. This film just has so much heart. It has so much care and effort and built into how it's shot in particular. It's such a personal film. I feel like it gives every single one of their characters the time it needs to make you feel something for their character. And you're just left with this amazingly artistic and authentic film. All right, and that's it for our top 10 movies of 2020. We hope you enjoyed this video. We're going to put links in the description for all the movies on our list that we did review, so you can check out those videos if you like. And we'll see you in the next video.